Welcome back to the channel to a fascinating journey into the world of U.S. coin collecting, where even everyday circulation pieces, like the Jefferson 5-cent coin, hold remarkable stories. Here, we explore the rich history, classic design, striking characteristics, and hidden collectible potential behind this iconic nickel. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a curious beginner, this guide invites you to discover the timeless appeal, surprising details, and collectible charm that make Top 8 first up the 2001 D. Jefferson nickel a standout piece in modern American coinage. The 2001 D. Jefferson nickel is one issue in a series that began in 1938, when the U.S. Mint replaced the Buffalo nickel with a depiction of Thomas Jefferson and his home, Monticello. For collectors and casual handlers alike, the 2001 D is an unassuming circulation coin. Struck for everyday commerce at the Denver Mint, it follows the classic Felix Schlag Monticello reverse and the long-running Jefferson obverse portrait. Though the coin itself is not rare, it sits inside a lineage that is central to 20th century U.S. circulating coinage and reflects many small technical and stylistic changes the Mint made over decades. 2. Designer and visual elements. The imagery on the 2001 D derives from the design chosen in 1938. Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, both originally the work of Felix O. Schlag. Schlag's Monticello reverse became such an identifying motif that, even with later redesigns and temporary departures, e.g., the Westward Journey series in the mid-2000s, the Monticello motif returned and remained synonymous with the Jefferson nickel. Schlag's initials, FS, appear on later strikes of design. The visual language of the piece ties the modern nickel to the artistic competition and mint decisions of the late 1930s. 3. Physical specifications and composition. The 2001 D. Jefferson nickel carries the standard specifications used for Jefferson nickels before the Westward Journey redesigns. A mass of 5.00 grams, a diameter of about 21.2 millimeters, plain edge, an alloy composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a cupronickel-clad over a pure copper core. These dimensions and composition were stable for the series, except for the wartime silver alloy of 1942-45, and remain the baseline by which collectors evaluate strike, weight, and authenticity. 4. 2001 production and mintage figures. In 2001, the Denver Mint struck the bulk of circulation nickels in high hundreds of millions. The recorded mintage of 2001 D. Jefferson nickel is 627,680,000 pieces. That very large mintage places the 2001 D among the commonly seen Jefferson nickels in pocket-changing coin rolls. As such, ordinary circulated examples carry only face value for most collectors, while higher-graded, uncirculated, or error specimens can demand premiums. 5. Where the 2001 D fits historically, context of the early 2000s. The early 2000s were a transitional period for nickel. Although 2001 remained the classic Schlag design, the U.S. Mint was beginning to prepare commemorative and redesign programs tied to the Lewis and Clark bicentennial. The Westward Journey nickels would appear in 2004 to 2005 and temporarily replace Monticello. Thus, the 2001 issues represent the stable, last years before a short era of experimental designs, making them representative pre-Westward Journey examples of the long-lived Jefferson design. 6. Striking quality, full steps, and common collector notes. Among modern Jefferson nickels, collectors often look for strike quality features like the full steps, the clearly defined steps on Monticello's west portico. Since the 1980s, the Mint made dies with sharper definition, so that well-struck nickels can display 6 full steps, a desirable strike attribute for collectors. In 2001, many coins show good step definition if struck properly. Those with crisp details and nowhere are preferred by grade-oriented collectors and can be set aside as Mint state candidates. 7. Varieties and errors to watch for why some 2001 nickels are worth more. Although the regular 2001 D is common, collectors should watch for varieties and mint errors that elevate value. Die clashes, double dies, off-center strikes, weak or repunchment marks, and other striking anomalies. Modern error coin markets actively track these variants. When genuine and well documented, They can fetch multiples of face value, sometimes substantially more for dramatic doubles, /overstrikes, or scarce die pair errors. Several auction and hobby sites compile lists of the more valuable 2001 nickel errors and document recent realized prices. 8. Market value and dealer perspective. Because of the huge mintage, typical circulated 2001 D nickels are worth face value and are not bought by dealers in quantity for profit. That's the practical market reality. Uncirculated mint set examples, coins graded by third-party services, or coins with listed error types can sell for higher prices. But the baseline collector and dealer expectation is that the common 2001 D holds only a few cents of numismatic premium unless it is exceptional grade or an error. For guidance on current pricing, online price guides and recent auction archives are the best source because specific premium levels shift with market demand and grading trends. 9. Grading, authentication, and how to present a 2001 D for sale or grading. If you believe you have a high-grade 2001 D, particularly MS65 and above, or an error specimen, the standard practice is to clean none of the coin. Cleaning ruins value. Take high-resolution photos of obverse/reverse any edge and consider submission to an established grading service, PGS-NGC Annex, if you expect significant value. For lower value but still collectible pieces, simply preserving the coin in a 2x2 holder and noting any visible mint errors or full steps is sufficient. Reputable auction houses and forums can also help authenticate unusual varieties before a formal submit. 10. Practical collecting tips and closing perspective. If you collect Jefferson nickels, the 2001 D is best treated as a workhorse date, useful for date runs, educational displays, and for practicing grading and error detection. Keep an eye out for the rare error coins or exceptionally struck mint state pieces. Those are the items that occasionally transform a plain circulation nickel into something rare and interesting. Otherwise, the 2001 D is a physically typical, historically continuous piece that connects modern coinage to Felix Schlag's long-running Monticello design and the larger story of U.S. coin design changes across the 20th and early 21st centuries. Next up, Thomas Jefferson Key Legacy S.E. Shiru Hodahai. The Jefferson nickel family traces its roots to the American reverence for the third president, author of the Declaration of Independence, and founder of Monticello. When the U.S. Mint introduced the Jefferson nickel in 1938, it replaced the long-running Buffalo nickel. The coin's purpose was both practical, a durable 5-cent piece for everyday commerce, and symbolic, carrying Jefferson's portrait and his beloved Monticello on everyday money reinforced civic memory. By the year 2000, the Jefferson nickel had been the nation's small change staple for more than 6 decades. Collectors and the public alike recognized its classic obverse portrait and the familiar Monticello reverse as part of a continuing American numismatic story. Design and the artist. The obverse portrait that appears on the 2000 D nickel is a result of sculptor Felix Schlag's design, introduced in 1938 and used, with minor modifications and restorations, across many decades. The portrait is more restrained than some earlier coinage designs, a dignified, three-quarter view of Jefferson that emphasizes his statesmanship rather than heroic romanticism. The reverse shows Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, an architectural motif that underscores his role as an architect and man of the Enlightenment. Over the years, the Mint made subtle changes, relief, date placement, lettering, crispness, but the fundamental language of Schlag's composition remained unchanged through 2000, giving the coin a conservative, instantly recognizable appearance. Production and the Denver Mint mark. The D on the 2000 D nickel identifies the Denver Mint as the place of striking. By 2000, the United States Mint was operating with modern, high-speed coining presses and improved die techniques compared to mid-20th century equipment, which meant consistent strikes and relatively uniform quality in business strike, circulation coins. The Denver facility produced a majority of circulation nickels along with other mints. Business strike nickels like the 2000 D were intended for everyday commerce, so most examples show the wear patterns of circulation, softening of high points such as Jefferson's cheek and Monticello's roof lines, though mint state survivors do exist for collectors. Metal composition and physical specs. The Jefferson nickel of 2000 kept the standard composition introduced in the 20th century, a cupronickel-clad, 75% copper, 25% nickel, bonded to a copper core, producing a durable, corrosion-resistant piece with a familiar silvery hue. The physical dimensions, roughly 21.21 millimeters in diameter and weighing about 5.0 grams, were optimized for vending machines, coinage systems, and public familiarity. The plain edge and way the coin wore in pockets and cash registers shaped the tactile and visual identity of the nickel during daily use. Small nicks along the rim, light flattening on Jefferson's hair, and toning or grime collecting the recesses all tell the story of circulation, die varieties, and occasional errors. While the standard 2000D nickel is not famous for dramatic variety series, unlike some dates that produce notable double dies or major repunch mint marks, collectors still find interest in minor die differences, weak strikes, and rare minting errors. Examples include small die cracks that appear as raised lines on the coin, off-center strikes where the design is clipped at the rim, or planchet anomalies that affect luster and surface texture. Such errors are less common than in earlier, manually intensive minting eras, but when they do appear on a 2000D, they attract attention from era coin collectors because they are tangible records of the coining process in action. Circulation history and public use. In the year 2000, the nickel was heavily used for everyday transactions, vending machines, transit fares, small purchases. Though by then electronic payments were beginning to creep in, and inflation had reduced the nickel's buying power compared with earlier decades. As a result, many 2000D nickels entered commerce rapidly and in large numbers, passing through many hands and acquiring the fingerprints of daily life. Microscopic scratches, rubbed surfaces, and the occasional polishing or cleaning. For numismatists, this common circulation context explains why high-grade, uncirculated 2000D nickels are more interesting. They are survivors that avoided the wear that most coins endured. Collecting appeal and market considerations. For modern collectors, a 2000 D Jefferson nickel is typically a readily obtainable date. It is not one of the scarce headline-making rarities, but that does not make it uninteresting. Collectors seeking a complete Jefferson series typesets or date/mint sets will value a crisp example from Denver to complete their run. Grading matters. Circulated pieces may sell for only modest premiums over face value, depending on grade and eye appeal, while mint state, MS60, MS67, examples and attractive luster with strong strikes can command steadily increasing interest from series collectors. Specimen or special package mint sets from the year 2000 may have slightly higher collector premiums due to better preservation, cultural and historical resonance at the turn of the millennium. The year 2000 had symbolic resonance in many parts of society, and coins from that year can carry a sentimental cachet for people born or forming memories around that time. A 2000D nickel might therefore be kept as a small time capsule, a piece of metal that connected everyday transactions to an era of changing technology, pre-smartphone commerce, and a world on the verge of big digital shifts. In private collections, 2000 date coins sometimes serve as anniversary keepsakes, teaching tools for new collectors, or simply as tactile reminders of a specific, recent historical moment. Preservation and how to care for survivors. Because most 2000D nickels are common, collectors who value higher grades focus on preservation. Avoid cleaning. Store coins in inert holders, mylar flips, archival coin envelopes, or hard plastic holders for slabs, and keep them in low humidity, stable temperatures to prevent toning or corrosion. If a coin shows natural, attractive toning, it's often better left alone. Cleaning tends to damage surfaces and reduce collector value. For anyone who inherits a handful of 2000D nickels, basic sorting by eye and avoiding abrasive handling will preserve potential numismatic worth. Numismatic context and... Next up, the 1979 Jefferson nickel stands as an important piece in the continuing legacy of the United States 5-cent series, a coin that has been minted continuously since 1938. By the late 1970s, the Jefferson nickel had already become a familiar part of American daily life, circulating in huge numbers across all states. Its design, featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse, had been cherished for decades. Although the coin's design had remained largely unchanged, the 1979 issue emerged during a transitional period in U.S. minting history, marked by evolving minting technology and America's growing interest in modern coin collecting. The obverse of the 1979 nickel retained Felix Schlag's original portrait of Thomas Jefferson, a design that had won the 1938 competition held by the U.S. Mint. Jefferson's profile faces left, showcasing his distinct features, colonial-era hairstyle, and dignified expression. Surrounding the portrait are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1979, along with the mint mark placed to the right of the portrait. This year's coins were struck at 3 mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. Each mint contributed a unique aspect to the coin's distribution and collectible appeal. On the reverse, the Monticello design stood as a symbol of American architectural achievement and Jefferson's intellectual legacy. The 1979 reverse features a familiar straight-on view of the building, with the name Monticello below the dome, followed by 5 cents and United States of America. Because the design had been used for decades, collectors often look closely for variations in strike quality, step details on Monticello, and other subtle differences that can give the coin special value. While the overall design remained unchanged, advancements in minting machinery during the 1970s produced slightly sharper details for some strikes, particularly those from the Denver Mint. The year 1979 itself was notable in U.S. coinage history due to several economic and industrial factors. The United States was experiencing rising inflation and fluctuating metal values, forcing the mint to carefully monitor the cost of producing coins. Although the nickel's composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel, remained stable, the cost of nickel and copper had become a concern, leading to discussions about potential alternatives. While no changes were made that year, the economic environment influenced the mint's production volumes and quality control efforts. As a result, the 1979 nickels were produced in large numbers but exhibited varying levels of strike sharpness, especially at Philadelphia. At the Philadelphia Mint, the 1979 nickel was struck without a mint mark, as the tradition of using the P mint mark for circulating nickels did not begin until 1980. Large production runs at Philadelphia often resulted in weaker strikes, and this is one of the reasons why collectors search carefully for coins with full steps on Monticello, a sign of exceptional striking quality. Well-struck Philadelphia nickels from 1979 are harder to find in high mint state grades, making them more appealing to collectors who specialize in registry sets. The Denver minted 1979, the nickel played a major role in the year's circulation. Known for generally better strike quality compared to Philadelphia, the Denver Mint produced millions of these coins for widespread use across the western United States. Collectors often consider Denver issues slightly superior in clarity, especially regarding Monticello steps. However, like all circulating nickels of the era, bag marks, contact friction, and dull luster are common, making pristine uncirculated examples far more desirable and uncommon. San Francisco, during 1979, was no longer producing circulating nickels, but instead focused exclusively on proof coins designed for collectors. The 1979 S-proof Jefferson nickel is known for its mirror-like surfaces, sharp details, and overall superior craftsmanship. This year is significant for proof collectors because it came just before the transition to the clearer, Type II mint mark style in the early 1980s. The 1979 S-proof coins capture the traditional serif style S, which later became an identifying marker for collectors comparing different mint mark styles across decades. In terms of rarity, the 1979 nickel is not rare in general circulation, as millions of pieces were minted. However, specific varieties, such as high-grade full steps FS examples, are considered scarce and highly desirable. Full steps coins show complete, uninterrupted steps on the Monticello building, a feature difficult to achieve due to design's shallow depth and the mint's high-speed production methods. As a result, 1979 nickel collectors often focus on acquiring these high-quality examples, which can command strong premiums in the numismatic market. Market value for the 1979 Jefferson nickel depends heavily on condition and mint variety. Circulated pieces typically hold face value, but uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS65 or higher, can attract collector interest. Proof coins, particularly those with flawless mirror surfaces, deep cameo contrast, or pristine strike quality, remain popular among enthusiasts assembling complete Jefferson nickel sets. While the coin may not reach the high values of older or rarer nickels, occupies an important place in modern U.S. numismatics. Overall, the 1979 Jefferson nickel represents a fascinating blend of tradition, craftsmanship, and subtle collectability. It reflects the economic challenges of the late 1970s, the enduring strength of Jefferson's legacy, and immense efforts to uphold quality during a period of rapid change. For collectors today, this coin serves not only as an everyday piece of American history, but also as a rewarding subject for those who appreciate varieties, mint marks, strike sharpness, and the deeper story behind a familiar 5-cent coin. Next up, the Jefferson nickel traces its roots to 1998, when the U.S. Mint replaced the Buffalo nickel with Felix Schlagg's design, Thomas Jefferson in profile on the obverse, and Jefferson's home, Monticello, on the reverse. That basic Schlagg composition remained the standard Jefferson nickel design for decades, with later short-lived redesigns in 2000s, and the 1998 P-piece uses that familiar imagery, Jefferson's portrait on the front and Monticello on the back. This continuity is why collectors immediately recognize the 1998 nickel as part of the long-running Jefferson series, rather than a separate commemorative issue. The 1998 nickels struck for circulation were produced at multiple mints: Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S proofs. The Philadelphia Mint regular issue coins are copper nickel clad, a copper core with a cuprical outer layer, and were intended for everyday circulation. The P mint mark on 1998 business strike nickels identifies pieces struck at Philadelphia that year. Note: in the modern era, the presence/absence of a mint mark and facility is a basic identifying fact for collectors. Composition and normal manufacturing methods mean most 1998 P nickels are common and chemically/physically the same as other late 20th century Jefferson nickels. As a rule of thumb for market value, most 1998 P Jefferson nickels in circulated dirty/worn condition are only worth face value or a small premium. These coins were minted in large quantities and are common in pocket change. Only coins that are uncommonly well struck, high mint state grades, proof issues, or certified with specific sought-after die varieties or errors attract meaningful premiums. Recent market summaries and price guides confirm that ordinary circulated 1998 nickels sell for around face value, while high-grade mint state examples or certain certified full steps examples can command meaningful but not astronomical premiums. If you're looking for a quick market check, widely used price guides and recent sales data show the vast majority of 1998 P nickels are common. Exceptional certified examples sell for higher prices to specialists. That said, there are collector angles you should know about. Specialists look for full steps on the Monticello reverse, fully defined horizontal steps on the building, exceptional strike quality, die varieties, and genuine mint errors, off-center strikes, double dies, planchette mishaps, etc. Listings and marketplace examples show that certain well-defined full steps coins or legitimate mint error pieces can fetch several dollars to hundreds depending on grade and scarcity. And some rare error nickels from other dates have brought five-figure prices at auction. Practically speaking, for 1998, if your coin shows full, crisp steps and exceptional surface preservation, it is worth further inspection. If it's just a normal, scuffed, darkened nickel from circulation, it will normally remain at face value. About dirty conditions and cleaning. Coins that have heavy circulation, dirt, grime, or environmental damage are usually worth significantly less to collectors than those with original, undisturbed surfaces. Importantly, do not clean a coin yourself with abrasives, chemicals, or household cleaners. Amateur cleaning, even brushing with baking soda or acids, almost always damages the surface, removes original patina, and destroys numismatic value. Many coins that end up bright after cleaning are actually worth far less than their unclean counterparts because cleaning leaves micro scratches and alters the surface. If a coin looks discolored, corroded, or chemically stained and you think it might be valuable, stop. Handle by the edges, place in a soft flip or envelope, and get a professional opinion from a reputable coin dealer or an accredited grading service rather than trying to scrub it yourself. There are many documented examples of post-mint damage being mistaken for rare varieties. Conservators and graders can confirm authenticity and advise whether professional conservation is justified. Practical steps if you have one or a handful of 1998 P nickels and want to evaluate them. 1. Examine the reverse for full steps. Look at the horizontal lines of Monticello stair steps. They must be fully separated and sharply struck to interest specialists. 2. Check for obvious errors, off-center, double dyes, missing clad layers, or odd planchet color, and compare with photos of known varieties. 3. Avoid cleaning. Keep coins in flips or coin capsules and minimize handling. 4. If you find what looks like an error or an extremely well-struck, uncirculated example, photograph it good, well-lit, obverse and reverse, and consult a reputable local dealer or submit images to collectors' forums for preliminary opinions. And 5. For high-value or rare error candidates, consider third-party grading, PCGS/NGC, for authentication and grading. Graded coins commonly sell for higher prices because buyers trust the certification. Next up, the Jefferson nickel series began in 1999 as a replacement for the Buffalo/Indian head nickel. Felix Schlagg's portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his rendering of Monticello on the reverse became the familiar look collectors know for decades. The design was altered several times over the years. Notably, the wartime 1942-45 silver wore nickels, but through the 1990s, the classic Jefferson bust/Monticello reverse remained standard on circulating business strikes. The 1999 P nickel continues that long lineage. It's the same basic design lineage that started in 1938, and in everyday circulation, it's a familiar small silver-colored nickel you've always seen. Specifically for 1999 P, Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Mint struck a very large number of these, about 1,212,000,000 coins, making the 1999 P one of the common Jefferson nickels of the era. The piece is a standard business strike nickel, not part of the Westward Journey program, that began later in 2004 to 2006. Composition is a usual modern nickel alloy. 75% copper/25% nickel, diameter 21.2 mm, weigh about 5.0 grams. Because of the huge mintage, ordinary circulated examples are extremely common. Locating high uncirculated pieces, MS67+, is where supply thins out for collectors. Despite being common, the 1999 PETAs show up in a variety of error and variety categories that attract collector interest. Documented and reported issues for 1999 nickels include doubling, DDO/DDR, double strikes, off-center strikes, clip planchets, and rarer planchet mismatch errors. For example, a nickel die struck on a smaller planchet, such as a dime blank, a dramatic and valuable error when verified. There are auction and dealer records of such error pieces, some selling for hundreds or a few $1,000s depending on rarity and grade. But these are exceptions. The overwhelming majority of 1999 P pieces are ordinary and worth face value. If you suspect you have an error, strong doubling, obvious off-center, or a different metal slash size, those specimens are the ones worth getting examined and or slabbed by a reputable grading service. If by dirty conditions you mean circulated, soiled, or tarnished, that's the typical state for most 1999 P nickels found in pocket change. In circulated condition, these coins trade essentially at face value, 5 cents. For ordinary examples, circulated grades commonly command only nominal premiums unless the coin is unusually well preserved or shows a recognized, authenticated error. Auction records and dealer price guides confirm that most 1999 P nickels sell for very small amounts unless graded in high grade or error. So a greasy, scratched, or darkened 1999 P in your change is almost certainly worth 5 cents unless it displays one of the rare error traits described above. How to inspect a dirty/circulated nickel for potential value. Remove loose dirt gently with a soft brush and blast with clean water. Do not scrub or use chemicals. Then examine the date area and mint mark. The P is on the obverse near Liberty. And look for strong doubling of letters/numbers, images that appear struck off-center, or unusual size/weight/metal. If you see a tiny full Jefferson design compressed onto a smaller diameter, which would indicate a coin struck on a dime planchet, or extremely pronounced doubling, take clear photos, good lighting, macro if possible, and compare to known documented error examples. And don't attempt to clean a potentially valuable error coin with abrasives or chemicals. Cleaning usually destroys collector value. For anything that looks like a true error, an authentication/grade from PCGS NGC or Annex can confirm value. A few practical notes for collectors and for handling dirty coins. Do not polish or chemically clean coins you think might have numismatic value. Cleaning reduces or destroys collector grade and resale value. If a coin is just dirty and you want to remove surface grime for inspection, rinsing with distilled water and patting dry on a soft cloth is the safest minimal step. Avoid soap, acids, or dipping solutions. If you suspect an error worth more than a nominal sum, refrain from any cleaning and consult a reputable coin dealer or send images to a grading service for an opinion. Common, dirty 1999. P-nickels are plentiful and best left in pocket change or a bulk roll unless you're actively searching for errors.